Good morning, scholars. Welcome to the channel. This morning we're going to look at dividing decimals by decimals. I'm going to throw in some whole numbers too, a couple whole numbers, because the principle is the same when we're dividing by decimals. Now, if you are dividing by a decimal, it is important to change that decimal to a whole number. The divisor itself, you should change it to a whole number. There is really no issue if the dividend was the only part of the operation that has a decimal point. Because remember, we have done videos on dividing decimals by a whole number. So if the whole number is the divisor, that's really no issue. Just go ahead and divide the dividend, put back your decimal point, and divide as normal. But if the divisor, if the number that you're dividing by has a decimal point, then it is advised easier if you change that divisor to a whole number. And how do we do that? Well, we just multiply by any power of 10 that will bring the decimal point to the end of the number. So just look at how many decimal places there are. If you have to multiply by 10, so you move one place to the right. You have to multiply by 100, you'd move two places to the right. So we are multiplying the divisor by any power of 10 that it takes to get rid of the decimal point. The catch is, though, we have to do the same thing to the dividend. We have to do the same thing to the number that we're dividing, to balance things off so that we haven't really changed the value of the whole operation, right? Whatever you do to one thing, you do it to the other to balance things out, so you have not really changed it. We're just rewriting it in a simpler, easier way so we can go ahead and divide, right? So since the divisor has a 0, it's 0.8, we would need to move one place to the right to make this 8. The 48 does not have a decimal point, so to multiply, to do the same thing to the 48, you would just add a 0, because remember, you're multiplying this by 10 to make it 8, so we need to multiply this by 10 also to balance things off. So we simply will add a 0. If there was a decimal point, we would move one place to the right. What I'm going to do, though, I'm just going to go ahead and put in my division brackets. I'm going to need 12 of them. There are 12 problems here. So I'm just going to do that real quick, because we're going to need them, right? We're going to set them out under the division brackets. Alright, so we are showing that we're multiplying the 8 by 10. We're moving one place to the right, it becomes 8. Sorry, we're multiplying the 0.8 by 10. That becomes 8. We're multiplying the 48 by 10, and so we will add a 0 to that. See? So 48 divided by 0.8 is the same thing as saying 480 divided by 8. Because whatever we did to one side, we did it to the other, we have balanced it out. So now we can go ahead. 8 goes into 4. 8 cannot go into 4. 8 goes into 48. 6 times, and 8 goes into 0. 0 times. So the answer is 60. 48 divided by 0.8 is 60. Alright, so now we have 96 divided by 1.2. In the divisor, we have one decimal place. So we're going to multiply by 10. To bring it to the end of the number, it's going to become 12. We have to do the same thing to the dividend to balance things off. Multiplying 96 by 10 means we add 0 to the end of it. Remember, we did a video on multiplying numbers by powers of 10, and we realized there's a pattern. When you multiply a number by 10, you can simply go ahead and just add a 0 to the end. right? In mathematics, there are many shortcuts like this because we have observed the patterns that numbers exhibit, and so after a while we realize we can just go straight and do certain things, right? Understanding that. So 12 cannot go into 9, 12 goes into 96 8 times, 12 goes into 0 times. So 96 divided by 1.2 is the same as saying 960 divided by 12, and the result, the quotient, is 80. Alright, we have 40.5 divided by 0.5. We're going to multiply by 10 to get rid of that decimal point, and this now becomes 5. We're going to do the same thing to the dividend so that it's balanced. We multiply. This one has a decimal, so we're not adding a 0 this time. It's not a whole number. We're actually doing the same thing, moving one place to the right, and that becomes 405. So now we can go ahead and divide. 5 cannot go into 4. 5 goes into 48 times. 5 goes into itself once. So 40.5 divided by 0.5 is the same as saying 405 divided by 5, and the answer is 81. 10.42 divided by 0.02. We have 2 decimal places in the divisor. We are going to move them 2 places to the right, and now this will become just 2. We also need to move 2 places to the right in the dividend, and that will become 1042. And now we can go ahead and divide. 2 goes into 1, can't. 2 goes into 10 5 times. 2 goes into 4 2 times. 2 goes into itself once. 10.42 divided by 0.02 is the same as saying 1042 divided by 2, and the answer is 521. These are the same operation, the same value, because whatever we did to this side, we did it to the dividend, so we balanced it out. It's the same operation. 3.69 divided by 0.3. We're going to clear the decimal point in the divisor, move it one place to the right, so that is now 3. We're going to do the same thing over here, one place to the right, so this is now 36.9. We don't really mind the decimal point in the dividend, that's fine. We were really just trying to clear it in the divisor. So it's still in the dividend because we only move one place, and we have to just move one place to balance things out, but that's fine. Alright, so 3 into 3 goes 1 time, 3 into 6 2 times. Put back your decimal point. 3 into 9 goes 3 times. So 3.69 divided by 0.3 is the same as saying 36.9 divided by 3, and the answer is 12.3. Same operation, we just rewrite them in a different form, an easier form for us to work, because remember we did the same thing to both sides, so they are balanced. 0.144 divided by 0.06. Here we have 2 decimal places in the divisor. We're going to clear it by moving 2 places to the right, meaning we're multiplying it by 100 so that it can become a whole number. And it becomes 6. Sorry, this one. Alright, so it becomes 6. We have to do the same thing over here. If we don't, then we have skewed the results. It will be wrong. We have to balance it out by whatever you do to this side, you must do to the other, and then it's the same. It becomes balanced. So we need to multiply by 100 over here to move 2 places to the right. We're still going to have a decimal point in the dividend, but we don't mind that. We're fine with that. So 6 cannot go into 1, 6 into 14 goes 2 times, remainder 2. We're going to put back our decimal point. 6 into 24 goes 4 times. So the quotient is 2.4. 0.144 divided by 0.06 is the same as saying 14.4 divided by 6. And the result, the quotient, is 2.4. Alright, so we're halfway there. 7.2 divided by 0.8. We have one decimal place in the divisor. We're going to clear that. Multiply by 10 and it becomes 8. Multiply by 10 and this becomes 72. And we know that 8 goes into 72 9 times. So 7.2 divided by 0.8 is the same as saying 72 divided by 8. And the quotient, the result of that division, gives us 9. 0.55 divided by 1.1. In the divisor, we have one decimal place. We're going to multiply by 10, and in doing so, we move one place to the right, and now this becomes 11. Moving one place to the right, that becomes 5.5. Okay, 11 can't go into 5. Let's put our 0 since we're going to have a decimal point there. 11 into 55 goes 5 times. So 0.55 divided by 1.1 is the same as saying 5.5 divided by 11, which is 0.5 or a half. Okay, so 0.026 divided by 1.3. Okay. So we move one place to the right, that becomes 13. And one place to the right here becomes 0.26. Alright, so 13 into 0, that's 0. 13 can't go into 2, so we put a 0. And 13 into 26 goes 2 times. Alright, so 0.026 divided by 1.3 is the same as saying 0.26 divided by 13, and that answer is 0.02. Alright, so we have 100.5 divided by 0.5. So we move one place to the right, that becomes 5. One place to the right, that becomes 1005. 5 goes into 10 2 times. 5 into 0, 0. 5 into itself once. So 100.5 divided by 0.5 is the same as saying 1005 divided by 5. And the result, the quotient, is 201. 8.8 divided by 0.11. In the divisor, we have 2 decimal places we need to clear. So we're moving 2 places, and that becomes a whole number now, 11. 2 places here, though, would be 1, 2. So we'll have to add a 0 here. So it's going to be 8, 8, 0. Because remember, we moved 2 places to clear this to make it 11. We need to move 2 places. That means we're going to add a 0 here. 11 into 8, you can't. 11 into 88, 8 times. 11 into 0, 0. 8.8 divided by 0.11 is the same as saying 880 divided by 11, and that quotient is 80. Our final problem, 0.045 divided by 0.9. We have one decimal place in our divisor. So we move one place to the right, that becomes 9. One place to the right here, we're going to put the decimal between the 0 and the 4. 9 into 0, 0. 9 into 4 is also 0, and 9 into 45, 5. So our quotient is 0.05. 0.045 divided by 0.9 is the same as saying 0.45 divided by 9. The quotient or the result of that division is 0.05. Okay. So basically we're saying if we're dividing by a decimal, if we have a decimal in the divisor, it's much easier for us if we change that decimal to a whole number. And how do we change decimals to whole numbers? We simply move the decimal point as many places to the right as we need to take it to the end of the number. And what we're really doing in that is multiplying by 10 or multiplying by 100 or multiplying by 1,000, any number of places. So if it's one place you need to move, you're going to be multiplying by 10. If you do that to the divisor, you have to do it to the dividend to balance things off. Otherwise, you're changing the operation completely. So you must do the same thing on both sides. If you have to move 2 places, it means you're multiplying by 100. You have to multiply by 100 in the dividend. If it's a decimal in the dividend, it means you move 2 places to the right. If it's a whole number, it means you add 2 zeros, and so on. And then you can go ahead like normal and divide. Okay, it doesn't really matter if you still end up with a decimal point in your dividend, in the number that you're dividing up. That can remain, just put it back in that position, right? That's fine. What we're trying to do though is to change the divisor to a whole number, and whatever you have to do to achieve that, do the same thing to the dividend. Alright, so if you have been helped by this video, please comment to say thank you, miss. And I would love if you would share this video with others so they can benefit as well. And if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe so that you can get access to the vast number of videos that we have. If you want me to do a video on a particular topic, just let me know which topic. Write in the comments which topic you're really trying to grasp. If you're struggling with a particular topic, let me know. I'll do a video on that for you. So my scholars, thank you for joining me. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves.